The other issue, as you've asked before, and I think our solicitor has commented on this before about
Contracts, yes.
collective bargaining agreements, once they are ratified, they are public.
Yeah, I understand that, but again, just in repetition, because this is a crucial issue. Once council votes on it, it's too late for the public to have any say in it. Before you vote is when the public should know what's in it. Now, how can that be arranged?
I don't know that it can be arranged, Mrs. Phillips. I don't know of any public body that negotiates in public. I think they negotiate, you elect us.
Before you vote on it. In other
Right.
words, this isn't a process of being involved, a third party in the negotiations. I appreciate that. But you and the manager represent the public in these negotiations, and the public just gets closed out. You vote on it, and we don't know what's in it until it's done.
Well-
That's not right.
Once again, would
It's
not
law.
we create a situation where if you start debating with the bargaining unit and with city council in public about the terms of an agreement that is not agreed to yet and has not been ratified, isn't that negotiating in public?
Well, I would appreciate also, if there's law on this, it would be good for the public to be aware of what that law is, and nobody has ever cited that law. Because we still have the problem of you vote on it, and then we're stuck with it.
Well, doesn't the public vote for the council members to vote on the issues such as contracts for the
Yes,
police,
you
fire
are
department, public works?
representative, that's correct. But the
Right.
public is still out there. It's not
Right.
closed. This
Oh,
should be
I
public
agree 100%.
information.
I agree 100%, but
Yeah.
And nobody's been able to cite to us exactly what law prevents the public from knowing this before you vote on it, because then it's too late. And we're stuck with it for a period of 3 years if we find problems in it. And that's why we keep
You
bringing
have,
this
you have
up.
to have a little faith, Mrs. Phillips.
Pardon me?
You have to have a little faith
No,
in your elected officials.
no, in terms of scrutiny, you are up there. The public has a right to scrutinize and to ask
Right.
questions.
The collective bargaining is a different process than us doing an ordinance or anything here at a public meeting. It is a different process.
Yeah, but nobody's ever been able to tell us what the law says precisely, because I
Sir,
know,
you have the law on the top of your head that allows.
With your new haircut.
If we're talking about do we have the law, at our fingertips in terms of research memorandums, the answer is no. In terms of the concept is the same concept we have discussed in past years. That when you have a negotiation going on, you are not going to disclose the contents of that negotiation while you are in the midst of the negotiation. It would raise issues of unfair labor practices and things of that nature. That's not simply my opinion. It is the same opinion that we have reached in consultation with your labor attorney. If council wants a broader memorandum on this, then give some direction, probably at first blush to the Labor Council, so you can have a fuller answer if you want a fuller answer. But I'm pretty confident that the answer is going to parallel what I am giving to you in summary form.
Mr. Cerny, you've been doing this for quite a few years. Do you know of any public body that does it any differently than we do?
If I can rephrase that slightly differently, Mayor, to strike at the heart of this thing, do I know of a public body that goes into negotiations and in the midst of negotiations comes out and discusses the negotiations with their public? No, sir, I do not.
no, I'm talking about when you get that contract, the negotiations are finished. Before you vote on it, we should be able to see what's in it.
This is what I said last year, and let's be a little more precise than we've been so far. Mrs. Phillips is right. When that contract has been negotiated by our manager and our other professionals and is put before council, that's an up or down vote by us. We're not negotiating. We don't have the authority at that point to negotiate anything further with that union. And in practice, we sit up here and we discuss at some length. Depends on the contract, exactly what length and what matter or what level of detail, but we discuss the particulars of that contract. All that Mrs. Phillips has asked for in the past, and I agreed with her then, I still agree with her, is that once we reach the point where the negotiations are completed, and I'd also point out, and those of you who have been involved in labor negotiations know this, when it comes to us, it's been approved, it's been ratified by the membership. They are giving us an agreement which they say, if you vote for this, we've already accepted it, we'll have a deal. So we don't get it until they're done. We don't get it until the negotiations are done. we being council, have the actual document, the actual agreement that we're going to be asked to vote yes or no on. We discuss various aspects of it, but not to negotiate it, not to change it, but simply to reach the conclusion, individually and collectively, is going to be a yes or no vote. So, in that context, once that's come to us, why could the public not have that same document that we're about to be discussing? And they can put their 2 cents in, whatever they think, is a good thing or a bad thing in the contract, but in the end, we don't change any of that. It's just a yes or no vote.
And you
Okay.
still have council who has based on that discussion, could decide to vote no or raise issues of its own, which you should be. You're the one approving this.
Yeah, I agree with you also, Mrs. Phillips. Would you happen to have the list of the last contract of the things that you disagree with or that you didn't approve? Maybe
I
you or
put
Rick,
them in
maybe
the
Rick has
paper.
it?
A few weeks ago, we put a full-page ad in the Beachcomber News, and that, paying for that, when we always put at the bottom, paying for by, because that's one of the expenses that your dues cover. And we listed some areas, because we have the contract, went through it, and listed the areas where we think there should be more discussion and consideration in terms of what is fair to the taxpayer, and the fact that, I'm quoting now from Mr. Levinson, the county executive. He made 2 points not too long ago. The fairness to the taxpayer by the conditions of these contracts. Are they affordable? And government should not be one of its prime functions being an employer. And I am quoting Dennis Levinson.
Right, but I don't
And
think
this
he was
is-
specifically talking about.
And he was
having-
specifically talking about public sector contracts, yes.
but what is he-
And we raised those in that ad. If
Was
you
he
need-
talking about the issue of giving out the contract prior to voting on it?
You have a completed document when it comes to you, as far as agreement between the manager and the union. Why
Right.
can't the public see that? You might have copies here.
The manager only comes into a situation where he has a memorandum of agreement with the consent of council during the process. So he's coming through the process, talking to council in executive session about where he is in that process. And then when he negotiates that, it comes back to this body for a final
That's
vote.
correct, and before you vote on it, we would like to see what's in it. We're not
And Mrs.
negotiating,
Phillips,
we're not
once
a
again, I'll
third
defer
party.
to I'll defer to our labor council and to our solicitor.
But he's interpreting from the point of view of the taxpayers actually being a third party. We're not talking about that.
I'd just like to say that full-page article that you put in the paper a few weeks ago, there was a lot of items, there was a few items in there that were debatable. And
It's come right from the contract.
and then second of all, we just had our bond rating increase from 2 steps from good financial responsibility, which is how you get it, and excellent cost control. So
Right, but they don't go
I think
into the
we're doing a
detail
pretty
of
good
what's
job.
in your contracts. I think there are points in there which do not affect
But
the
Ms. Phillips,
efficiency.
we understand your position on the contracts.
Well,
Thank
okay,
you.
I hope you do, because I think it's in fairness to the public, and that's something that you mentioned, has any other public body considered this? Yes, a couple of years ago, there was one down in Cape May County. In fact, the press had an article on it. I tried to get a follow-up on it, and I didn't get a reply. I don't know what happened down there. But this is something that, you think this is just something that's automatic, and the public is left out of the
I
process.
can tell you it's not automatic.
Well, anyway, thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips.